Thanks, Anushka. Now, I'm delighted to be joined by Dave Fishwick. Most people at home will have heard about you because of your community banking, philanthropic exercises that you carry out, and, of course, a couple of TV series that have been made about you. You've just heard from Anushka about how vulnerable many young people feel. Just in your patch in and around Burnley, how do you think young people are doing?
Well, just recently, I had a young man called Harry, 18 years old. He wanted to borrow money to actually buy a burger van, Robert. And what happened was, he'd gone to his grandfather to borrow the money, and his grandfather had said yes, but then the cold winter payments come in, and he couldn't afford to lend him the full money anymore. So he come to me, and I said, "How old are you?" And he was 17 and 51 weeks or something. I said, "It'll have to be next week." And he's our youngest customer. So I lent him thousands of pounds. He bought this burger van. And within just a few months, Robert, he's up for a North West award. We need to invest in young people. They are the future. But on the other half of things, I've got people writing to me at the Bank of Dave. One in particular comes to mind, a young girl who wanted to borrow money for baby milk, for formula. Now, I just sent the money. But on one side, we've got people needing to borrow money for baby milk, and on the other side, we've got bankers' bonuses being uncapped. The world's gone bonkers.
I mean, one thinks of a Labour government, and this is a government which uses this rhetoric all the time at the moment, that they're on the side of working people, but on the ground where you are you seeing, particularly working people on low incomes, do things feel any better for them?
No. I'm getting letters left, right and centre. And let's not just blame the Labour government.
No, this wasn't a blame thing. I'm just asking you what the experience is on the ground.
I think it's a mixture of a lot of things. Now, Labour have been in just a few months now, so I'm hoping that they're going to get things better. However, we've got a situation where people are writing to me wanting to borrow money to pay energy bills. Now, that is unacceptable. What we need to do is we need to make sure that the older people and people who need that bit of extra help can afford to heat the house. And I don't get letters from people that say, "Do you know what, David, I'm going to decide whether I'm going to feed myself or my 4-year-old child." We need to take care of those. There needs to be a net for those people to fall on, to bounce back up, to contribute to society. Then we need to go and look at the bigger structure where the big companies need to pay their share, because the poor always end up spending more, and that's not fair.
Yeah. Dave, so much more I need to talk to you about. Don't go away, because, as I say, much more from Bank of Dave Fishwick, and we'll be chewing over some of these issues with the leader of the Greens, Carla Denyer, and former Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng. See you in a minute. Welcome back. Dave Fishwick is still with me. Santander today became the latest of the big banks to announce quite significant branch closures. You've been highlighting, the fact that too many people on low incomes are forced to go to loan sharks. I don't know whether there's a direct link between these sorts of bank branches going and people becoming dependent on prohibitive rates of interest provided by unscrupulous individuals. But what is your sort of take on the seriousness of branch closures, and what should the government try and do about it?
It's very serious. I mean, my latest movie that's just gone out on Netflix with David H., we took on Wonga and we got them shut down. They were charging 5,500% APR. Now, the thing is, we've got 54 banks a month closing. That's one this morning, one this afternoon, and that's carrying on all month, next month, and carrying on forever. Then we've got 115 post offices going to be closing. Now, I am working with the post office people to try and look at stopping that. Also, you've only got just over 300 credit unions. So they aren't going to be able to pick up, I mean, I love credit unions, but they aren't going to be able to pick up everything. So you've got over 15,000 free-to-use cash machines that are going. People need access to money, Robert. And unless they can have access to money, they're going to go to unscrupulous lenders, and they end up in the pub chatting to somebody, and then they borrow something, and then that becomes a huge amount of money. And I've been working very closely with the loan shark companies that are trying to ban the loan sharks. And I sent a letter to Sadiq and Tulip Sadiq, and I sent it her, and the day I sent it her, she got sacked the following day. And I'm thinking, at least keep them long enough to be able to get the letter to them so they can read it. But then you've got the post officers being told that they're going to pick up the slack. And how's that going to work? My local post office has just borrowed money off me, Robert. She sells birthday cards brilliantly and balloons. She ain't going to be able to take care of mortgages and loans, which is what we do. So I just don't know what's going to happen.
I mean, Carla, this issue of providing respectable, reputable finance to people on low incomes is a huge one, but it's a bit of a fringe issue in Parliament, isn't it? Why is this not more centre stage in terms of political debate?
That's a good point. It is a really big issue, as Dave's perfectly highlighted, and credit unions do a great job. I'd like to see them get more support so that there can be a branch in everybody's neighbourhood. There was a branch of the Great Western Credit Union on one of the main streets through my constituency, but unfortunately it's had to move. It's so important that people aren't left with the loan sharks being the most convenient, most accessible option.
And that's the problem. It's going to be the rise and rise of the loan shark. Now, I'd like to put an open letter to the government, and I'd like to say, look, I have really studied the community banks. I work in America for the 6,000 international community banks. I'm the ambassador for the entire United States of America. So I really understand it. Now, what I would like to do is I would like to work with the government on a solution. And if they're interested, they can get in touch with you, Robert, and we'll chat to them.
OK.
I'll sign your open letter, Dave.
So, look, I mean, I agree with partially what you say, but the other thing we've got to understand is that, you know, internet banking has completely transformed a lot of people's, financial ability and capacity. And we've got to recognise that. We can't simply just say, you know, that hasn't happened, and we've got to...
But I don't think that's what Dave's saying, but I think that... But
the branch closures are related to the increase in internet banking, clearly.
We've got 80, 90-year-old ladies that need to be able to get to a branch. You know,
Sure.
one of my parents has got the onset of dementia, and she's ferociously protective. She won't let me take care of it for her. She wants to go and speak to somebody. Banks need to remember what they were put there for in the first place, and they were put there to help the public. They've been bailed out twice. They need to remember where they are and how and why they was put there. Now, I get your question about using internet banking, but there's no reason why we can't come up with an internet banking and have a bank, a physical bank as well. Like, you know, at Burnley Savings and Loans, we've got a website. People can go online, they can email us. That doesn't stop them, but they can still come in and talk to us.
But I was just describing the reason why they're shutting these bank branches is partially, I think I would say largely, because of the internet. And you're right that we can do both, but I think it's important that we understand...
But when markets fail really important groups of the community, there is then a role for government to step in and sort something out. One of the things that, I mean, I have to say, it has worried me over decades, the extent to which, at the Treasury, helping poorer people has never been as much of a priority as it ought to be. But I need to ask you more of a sort of personal question about you. From memory, you've sort of slightly flirted with the idea of going into politics, since we've been just talking about, you know, perhaps some of the failures of politicians. What do you think about that?
We were chatting on your podcast about that, weren't we? And it's interesting because lots of people had heard your podcast, Robert, and got in touch with me and said, you need to do politics. The problem is for the big job, I think everybody's been to Eton. And the thing about Burnley...
Only one person in this room.
Well, let me tell you, I left school at 16 and we were poor and I needed to go straight to work. I was straight onto a building site for £30 a week on the youth training scheme. My dad were a farm labourer and a tackler fixing looms, and my mum were a weaver. We needed the money. So there were no chance of me going to college or uni. I didn't even know where Eton were. But...
Well, look, there's a job coming up in Lancashire. There's a new post of mayor for Lancashire being created. I don't think many Lancastrians think that needs to go to an Etonian. So you're going to run?
I think Angela Rayner's mentioned. Now, I like Angela. Perhaps Angela would like to come to Burnley and we could have a chat. Because I think if it's doing it for the right reasons, I'd only do it. I'd do it for free. I'd do it for the right reasons. And I'd want to run it like I run the business. I have 6 businesses and I'd want to run it like I run the businesses. And we'd run it for the right reasons to help real people. Community banks run by the people to benefit the people rather than the bonus culture.
I mean... Dave has had a social impact outside of politics. So what do the two of you think? Do you think you're going to get more impact in formal politics or outside campaigning in the way that he does?
I mean, Dave's obviously a really talented, remarkable... I mean, you do yourself down, but and you say you don't have education, but you're clearly incredibly able. And
I've nothing at all. I've not even got a CSE.
No, but you've shown real ability in terms of helping communities. And I think the answer is that there are lots of ways you can help people. You don't have to always go into politics. Actually, there's more benefit sometimes of stepping away from politics. And
as you have done.
As I have done. So politics isn't the be-all and end-all. But at the same time, you do need people to run government departments, so you need politicians.
Carla, advice to Dave. Should he enter formal politics?
Well, I'm not going to advocate for everyone should be a politician. I wasn't ever planning to be a politician. I started off doing engineering, and I did the sidestep for a similar set of frustrations that you're experiencing now. Of I just want good people to be in Parliament trying to make good decisions.
Yeah.
And I spent years writing to my councillors and MPs and asking them to do the right thing while working in renewable energy in my day job. And eventually I thought, even though it's quite hard to get Green MPs elected, it might just be easier than asking MPs from other parties to do the right thing over and over again. No. So I guess for you, it's probably weighing up your skills, but I think you do have the right skills for it. And which you think would be more frustrating for you.
Lots to chew on, Dave. Unfortunately, I'm told we're out of time. That's it. Now, next week, it's Rachel Reeves' spring statement, and we'll doubtless be reporting on the government's plan to tax newborn babies and indulgent grannies. See you then.